Well, welcome in, everybody. Let's dive right into it. Okay, we have 5 senses. The sense of sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. But what if we had a 6th sense? What would it be? And it's not seeing dead people. Don't worry. Although we could get into what if we could see dead people. I mean, technically you can see dead people. You can see dead bodies on the side of the road. But yeah. What if we could see ghosts? Ooh. But no, it's not that. Let's consider our senses as they have developed along our evolutionary timeline based on our needs of survival. I mean, it's only logical to assume that our next sense would be birthed out of some sort of environmental necessity. Now, this assumes that our environment will alter in some drastic manner. So let's first look at that. Now, our current world environment, let's say, the most crazy thing that's most likely to happen is that the planet is going to be ravaged by some sort of nuclear nuclear apocalypse, nuclear war, some sort of nuclear incursion, right? Now, we know that something that causes rapid cellular growth or degeneration in its various forms comes from an overabundance of radiation that exists in our universe. Now, a super minor example of, let's say, a chemical change that happens when you use a microwave. Microwaves emit incredibly low, minimal, like the most minimal amount of radiation. They're called microwaves, right? Now, those waves are exciting the liquid molecules that cause your food to get hot. Well, nuclear radiation, I mean, it does the same thing to everything. But we would grow extra limbs or a new head or something horrific instead of just having the liquid molecules in our bodies become superheated, right? But what if the one thing that we grew was instead a new sensory organ? What would that organ evolve to be given this new massive nuclear wasteland of a world that we would be inhabiting? Well, what if that new sensory gland will be something along the line of what a Geiger counter is? Right? I mean, we're not just going to grow a new organ just because, right? It's going to be a direct result of us trying to adapt and survive in a drastically changed environment. I mean, human evolution has done this very obviously, very markedly throughout human history. So, what if this new organ lets us detect levels of radiation? Or, since there's going to be decades of nuclear winter following the fallout, maybe we adapt some sort of intense node-like network of thermal regulating glands that's just beneath our skin to keep us warm against the icy elements now battering humanity like a cold, dark hammer. And since this gland is evolved from our bodies adapting to greater amounts of nuclear radiation over the generations, because evolution doesn't just happen on a species-wide scale, like overnight, right? It takes several generations for something to really grow and stick as a race. And, matter of fact, I think this is probably one of the first what-if questions that kind of led to a bunch of Silver and Golden Age superheroes and villains, gifting and grafting individuals with a variety of superpowers like Spider-Man or the Incredible Hulk. But the difference in what we're looking at with our real-life adaptation is something that is a uniform evolution of humanity. And it's going to be this singular sensory organ that everyone's going to have. It's not something that one person will develop by some freak accident or what have you. Okay, so this organ, will it necessarily mean that we are no longer human? Because it's a pretty big thing to grow an entirely new sensory gland. Well, other animals, mostly mammals, have all the taste, sight, touch, hearing, and smell sensory organs that we have. So having another organ won't necessarily set us apart from the rest of the mammalian, much less make us not human anymore. But will the subsequent evolutions that occur as a result of this new organ make us no longer human? Because as a race, we as humans have not only to contend with this new worldly environment and adapt accordingly, but our bodies will need to alter to accept both the new environment and this new organ in a pretty dramatic way. Right. Now, take our current evolutionary line. Like I said, this has been proven over human history before. I mean, we have developed so wildly in a few different directions that it is astounding what we can survive in today's day and age. I mean, we can survive removing our pancreas, our gallbladder, our appendix. Hell, we can carve out a kidney and still keep on trucking. So, this new organ, this new sensory gland, what do we call it? I don't think what the organ is called has to necessarily lend to its purpose. And we haven't gotten to the opportunity to name a new organ in, well, I'm not sure how long, but it has been a good long while since we got to name a new human organ. So let's see. How about a marple gland? Yeah, that sounds really weird and slightly like food. So let's go with the marple gland. Okay. And this gland, it will, let's think about where it's going to be on the body. It's going to be just below our skin, right? So it can regulate the hot and the cold in our bodies to protect us against the nuclear winter, as well as act like a Geiger counter, helping to warn us away from heavy amounts of all the nuclear radiation that will continue to be very harmful for us. I mean, just like our sense of touch is purposed to let us feel and understand our surroundings, its secondary function is also to make sure that we stay away from things that may harm us. Like when your hand moves away by instinct because your nervous system is reacting to really intense heat, let's say. I mean, you know the stove is hot by kind of hovering your hand over it, but your instincts will fight you if you try to put your hand directly onto a hot burning stove. Right? That's your sense of touch telling you, hey, let's not do this. So the Marple gland is going to act in very much the same way. It's going to be like, hey, there's an intense amount of harmful gamma radiation over there. Let's not go over there. I say, okay, just kind of hang out over here where the radiation levels are at a survivable limit. And yeah, I'm just going to wait it out for the next 500 years. So yeah, I think it is in our inevitable future of assured mutual nuclear destruction that the surviving humans will develop this Marple gland over the following generations in order to adapt, to survive, and to thrive in the new elements until the Earth settles again and cools off. And the likelihood of us evolving so much that we become a new race of beings by then is very high indeed. I'm noticing that I talk about evolution quite a lot, but I think I stick to a good dozen topics that kind of spin around in my wheelhouse. They're just super interesting. I'm always fascinated by evolutionary history, and I'm super curious to see where we might go in the future, especially with the radiation Geiger counter like Marple gland. But that is all I have time for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stick around for more Sci-Fi Unchained. But for now, live long and prosper, my friends, and may the Force be with us all.